Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Rush Hour Talk. This is Pete,
This is Ray.
and we have a very special guest for you for today's episode. She is a fellow Belmont Sentinel alumni. She's an LA True OG original of Echo Park as well, and she's been in TV production, and she's pretty legendary in that field. So we have Annie, whose last name I still can't pronounce. What's up, Annie?
What up?
What's up? Thanks for having me. Super excited. My two best guy friends.
Tell us what's new with you and what have you guys been up to since COVID started?
I mean, pretty much, I worked 1 week from home. And then after that, we just shut down and I haven't been working. COVID's really affected the production and film industry in LA. So as of right now, just not working, waiting to see when it'll be safe enough.
So how's Mama been doing?
But she's good, definitely worry about her constantly. But other than that, she's in good spirits. She has her iPad, she has her iPhone, she has her, Chromecast that she watches anime with, and stuff like that. But she's good.
She's too popular for you.
Yeah, she is. Just like April.
Anyway.
How are your brothers doing?
They're doing okay. I mean, it definitely sucks to not be able to see like our friends, and stuff like that. But, trying to just stay safe.
What is it that you guys miss most about pre-COVID?
I mean, really, for me, I would say like seeing friends, just like socializing in that aspect. I mean, we missed a couple birthdays, so like mine was one of them. And, I think Peter, your birthday was right before we locked down.
Yeah.
So,
I got a sweet
I think that was the last birthday I celebrated before the lockdown was your birthday.
We missed a couple weddings too.
Oh yeah, and a couple weddings got canceled too. Yeah. Like, man, that's another thing too. I'm not even sure how people are gonna deal with or research, from weddings and stuff like that, in the wedding industry too. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. So a couple things about Annie. She was born she was born in Houston. Am I right? You were born in Houston.
Yep.
So you're, and then you guys came over here and moved into to LA. Made a life for you guys yourself right there, but I think Rampart and Echo Park area too. So that's kind of like where your origin story starts. I believe you went to Belmont. I think you were in some of my classes.
Yeah, so.
You can't forget Virgil, because that's where her and I met. So
yeah,
that's where it kind of began.
Tell us a little bit about that, Ray. How'd you meet her? Do you remember?
I honestly don't remember how we met. Honestly, I started Virgil. I wasn't there for 6th grade. I think I started there in the 7th grade, and somehow it was you, Sodi, Maybell, Lisa. I still have that photo of us in that class where I think Sodi's flipping one of us off in the camera. I can't remember what it was. Yeah, but I really don't remember how we all met.
And then she went to Virgil and then Belmont, and that's where I met Annie. And when I met her, I thought she was the meanest person on earth, for normal reasons. But all that aside, I knew she was going to be one of my best friends ever, and been best friends ever since, right, Annie? Everybody?
Yeah.
That's true. It's true, man.
One of the things that I was talking to Christina about yesterday was how protective we all were, kind of instinctually, just kind of like when we hung out with each other. You guys remember those days we would go party and all that stuff? It's, Annie would be adamant about not leaving anybody behind, and Ray, trying to have a good time, and all of a sudden, oh shit, I wonder who's drunk in the bathroom now. I wonder who needs to go get her. But we left nobody behind.
Yeah, I almost beat up a couple of people because of these girls.
That's
man.
I gotta ask, Annie, do you remember any of those nights that we would party?
I mean, sometimes, most of the time, those kinds of nights, like you guys have to fill in the blanks for me. But just to segue into the protective, I do remember one time with Tay Tay, it's what I call Raymond. We went to Create.
Oh, this story.
Yeah. And so we were there. It was like me, Ray, Baby Allen, Kat, and who else? There was like one other person or two.
I
And
think Michael Cuenca was there.
oh, and then so Kat and I were on the dance floor. We're like dancing. I had my drink and we're dancing. And me and this like other like short Asian girl, like we bump into each other. And it was an accident. And I was like, oh, like sorry. And I guess she was just like, you better be, but I didn't hear that. And Kat heard it. And Kat's like, what'd you say? And so now Kat's getting into her face. And I was like, uh-oh. I was like, I had missed that. And I was like, and so Kat's getting in her face. And then Raymond comes out of nowhere. He's like, what happened? And he goes right to this girl. She's like probably 5 feet tall and Raymond's 6 feet. And he's like, what, bitch? Right to her face.
Ray.
Oh man, it was all instinctual. It was all instinctual.
Like a foot on this girl, man. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Hey, man.
But that you know, it doesn't matter. He's gonna protect us. So, you know, like we know that Ray always has our back. So that was really nice, but it turned out to one of the funniest memories we've ever had. And then Baby Allen was getting in between. He's like, everything's okay. We're all fine. Like everything's cool.
I can see that.
Because I think he was trying not to get us kicked out of the club because Ray was going to assault a 5 foot Asian girl.
I feel like that story comes up like at least like twice a year.
It's the best. I mean, me and Kat never forget the what bitch. Like literally, it's like what bitch.
What bitch? I can imagine Ray just like towering over this little Asian girl, being like, "What bitch?" on behalf of his little Asian girls.
Yeah.
I don't know what got into me.
Your protective instincts, man.
Mm-hmm.
Your protective instincts.
Yeah, that was one of the good memories. Just like, you know, kind of tying into the protective nature of you guys, our group.
This is who Annie is, right? She's where, you know, 9 shots of whatever is not enough, but all of a sudden 10 shots is too much. And
oh man.
And you know, there's been times, and I'm only gonna bring this up once for the year, I guess. But there was this once upon a time during Annie's birthdays, I forgot what it was, and we were at some sort of I forgot what restaurant, but it was outdoors.
Yeah.
And then at one point, Annie got so drunk that we had to, or Raymond specifically had to carry her to our friend's house. But our friend at the time, that motherfucker didn't tell us his house was 1.5 miles away. And Annie got carried by Ray the whole way there. And I'm going to show this one day, but I have footage of some of that walk. And I don't know if you, Annie, remember being carried by Ray.
Yeah, I do. I do remember being carried by Ray for part of it. Yeah, the beginning part of it. Because the reason why he had to carry me was because I wanted to run into the ocean. Mind you, I can't swim. So I literally were walking down the pathway, along the beach, and I remember kicking my flip-flops off, and I started to run into the sand. Raymond's like, God damn it. So he had to carry me so that I wouldn't run into the ocean and drown on my 29th birthday.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like everybody was like looking at me like, "What the hell is going on?" All the beachgoers just didn't know what the heck was going on.
It was a black guy carrying an Asian girl, a drunk one too.
I have to send you the photo for this. I have the photo.
Back then, actually, I don't know if I told you guys this. Back then, I was a lot leaner. My hair was shorter, and everyone thought I looked like Dwayne Wade. So it was funny. While I was carrying you, I remember some little kid looking at me, sweating, carry you, and then him like I just knew what he was going to tell his dad. Like, hey, is that Dwayne Wade? Like,
carrying that crazy.
Yeah, and I wasn't having it. I was sweating.
It looked like Dwayne Wade was carrying this drunk Asian girl and doing more work than he has to, for sure. Man, do you remember how I don't know how you got through that mile, but however long it was, but it was a long walk.
Yeah, my bicep was sore for a week.
You're looking at Annie, right?
I'm so fucking drunk, just let me fucking enjoy the sand.
That's true. I remember Raymond. I don't remember a lot, but I remember Raymond asking our friend at the time whose place it was. He kept saying, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" And the friend kept saying, "Yeah, we're close. Yeah, we're close." And then a mile and a half finally,
Yeah.
we finally
Didn't give
made
me
it. That was
I'll
fun.
never believe a goddamn word he says ever again. Shit, man. That was a long ass walk, and I didn't even carry anybody. I was just walking
Yeah.
next to you guys, filming everything.
Now that I think back on it, I screwed up. Instead of carrying you the way I did, I should have just put you over my shoulder. It'd be much easier.
Like a fireman carry.
Yeah, I just should have done that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you carried him like a true or him. You carried her like a true
Yeah, same.
true champ. You know, it's like no one's gonna question your honor after that, right? For sure.
Yeah. I really put Ray through it.
Yeah.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole.
I know. So one of the, I mean, like, so a lot of party stories came up last time when we interviewed Emily too, and one of the ones that came up too again was Mrs. 9 shots not enough, 10 shots too much over here. Is that she got so drunk in Vegas one time? Apparently, she fell asleep on the toilet. Is that it? Can someone corroborate that story that Emily told? Annie?
She's raising her hand over here.
Okay, tell us from whatever you can hardly remember. Tell us what it was that you thought happened that landed you there.
So I think we're at Tao or somewhere. I don't even remember. Was it Tao or
It was tough.
it was
I
Tao, right?
don't remember. I thought it was LAX.
It was a huge group of us. Like we were rolling really deep. And I remember we all got in there and we go straight to the bar and we're taking shots. And I swear, at least I remember this part was we all took at least like 8 to 10 shots of like vodka or tequila. I think it was vodka.
The problem was you got to 10.
Yeah, I know. I don't even know how I did that.
No, the problem was Annie was the one dictating all this.
I was like, guys, I don't feel anything yet. Let's take another shot.
Oh my God, let's bring PTSD, Annie. Don't do that.
Yeah.
For
and
you?
then I don't remember. Okay, so I remember that part, and then all I remember was I guess I had to pee, and we were gonna leave, and so I went to the bathroom. I sat down. I took down my chonies, and I sat on the toilet, and I guess at some point I passed out. I don't remember that. And then the next thing I remember was I think Janet was on her hands and knees looking under the toilet.
Oh my God.
Looking for me. I think she was literally on her hands and knees trying to figure out where I was because you guys were leaving and I wasn't accounted for. And so she was like on her hands and knees looking, and she finally found me. And then I guess like at that point I woke up, and then we went from there. So I just remember the story that, yeah, I fell asleep on the toilet stall. I don't even know for how long she found me.
I mean,
so that's a classic Annie story right there.
So I'm not gonna harp on classic Annie partying stories too much, but I do have to bring up how many times have you puked in Raymond's car?
Jesus.
I'm sorry, Ray.
I think 2. Is that right, Ray? 2?
I need Ray to tell this story because
it was both. It was both my Acuras. Yeah, I think that the worst one was I don't know. You opened the rear passenger door like on the freeway or like right when I exited. It was freaked me out. Yeah, we made it home safe.
Annie could have fallen the fuck out. You could have fallen out.
Honestly, at the time, it was her and Kat. It was like one weekend, Danny. Next weekend, it was Kat. It was a lot of fun, though. A lot of fun.
Oh, man. Something tells me that's going to come up for Kat.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that came up, too, that has nothing to do with partying, and I really, I'm not sure if even Annie remembers this much, because I know Annie's memory is kind of bad now in her old age.
True.
But during one of the last interviews with Emily, I believe she brought up the shot heard around Belmont, or at least for us, Annie's game winner, Ray. I don't know if you want to go ahead or actually Annie, if you want to go ahead and tell us what you actually remember about that shot, but it was pretty epic.
So yeah, I remember playing basketball with Emily. I remember that day really well because I had a migraine and I woke up and I remember I was like, there's no way I can play play ball today. So I told the girls, I was like, I'm not going to be able to make it to the game. And I remember going to sleep because usually napping helps my migraine.
Yeah.
So I remember I laid down, went to sleep, and at some point I woke up and I realized that the game was still going on. So I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe I can make it. So I went over there and I got there about halftime of the game. And I watched a little bit of the third quarter, I think, before I went in. And I just remember that the girls that were playing, like the opponents, they were such like dirty garbage players. Like they were really
Uh,
aggressive. Like they were like elbowing my teammates and all this stuff. And so eventually I go in the game and I remember playing a little bit. These girls were really aggressive. And at one point I remember blocking this girl's shot like so bad. She was like humiliated because I literally shoved it back in her face. And
That's messed up.
yeah, and then I remember they called a timeout or we called a timeout. And as we were walking away, that girl chucks the ball at one of my teammates. Like we're
I think
walking
it
away and
was.
chucked it at her back. Lorraine.
Oh,
there's the fight.
I thought it was
Yeah, it was
Lisa.
at
Hmm.
no, it was Lorraine.
Was it Lorraine? Oh,
She chucked it at Lorraine. And so she threw the ball and it hit my teammate on her back. And we're like, so, you know, we obviously hated these girls so much at that point because they're just awful. They're just like unsportsmanlike. So we're playing the game, and I just remember by the fourth quarter we were tied. Was it Ray? I don't even. I think we were tied. No, we were
it was a
down.
pretty.
We were down two. We were down
Yeah,
two.
it
We were
was
down
a.
2 points. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty close game through and through. You guys were battling it out.
Yeah, so we were down 2 points. I'm in the game. I think Emma was in the game. And I just remember, we were down 1 or 2. I can't remember exactly. And I remember the ball gets to me and the clock's winding down, like literally like 5 seconds or less left. And I remember taking the jump shot. It might have been from the elbow, or it could have been a 3-pointer. I can't remember exactly. I remember shooting the ball and it bounces on the rim. It bounces at least 2 or 3 times. So it's like, boop, boop, and then it goes through the net. And I just remember jumping up and we were so excited. We were like screaming, and it was like the most amazing feeling. And it just felt so much sweeter because we hated those girls because they were
Uh,
so awful and mean. And so to beat them fairly was like the best thing ever. Yeah. So my memory sucks, but I remember that game and that shot like forever.
hey
That's a,
Pete,
yeah.
that shot, it looked just like Kawhi against the 76ers when you hit. That's exactly how the ball bounced.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was coaching you guys, so like I just remember calling a timeout, and somehow we drew a play for Emily because Emily was doing her best to win the game for us, and then the ball ended up in Annie's hands, and it was such a huge payoff.
Yeah. Typically that would be a huge mistake, but that time it was,
No, but
it was the right thing to do.
let me ask you a question. Let's take it back though, because was that senior year?
Man, I don't even remember.
It was the year that we loved Sizzlers.
Uh,
That's where we went.
So that
after.
would have been like 10th, 11th grade, I think.
yeah. What was your basketball experience like at Belmont?
It was okay. You know, it sucks because I fell in love with basketball in junior high school, Kobe Bryant. I remember 6th grade, 11 years old, he came to the team and I was like, holy crap, that guy is hot. And then I just became obsessed and I watched every Laker game, became a huge Laker fan, huge Kobe fan. And I started playing ball in junior high. We would play all the time during like nutrition and lunch. And then when we got to Belmont, I tried out my freshman year. I didn't make it my freshman year.
Oh,
I don't think I did. I remember trying out and some girl went up for the rebound. And when she came back down, she elbowed me right in the eye. So then at that
Ooh.
point, like I couldn't see and my eye kept tearing up. But I don't think I made it freshman year. And when I tried out sophomore year, I made the team. And then I played JV for a little bit. So I wasn't even on Frost Off. I luckily made it to JV. And I barely played JV. And then I was put on varsity third string. And she really only had like, I would say like a 7-woman rotation
Yeah.
most of the time. So everyone else didn't get to play. So our varsity team sucked, our JV team sucked, and our frosting team sucked. So if
Yeah.
at the very least we put the third string on JV as starters, I feel like we probably would have got more playing time and, you know, maybe win some games. but yeah, it wasn't great because I did all the conditioning, I practice and all that stuff only to not really get any playing time. So that like really sucked, but it didn't take away like my love for basketball. I still love it, even now. But yeah, that was kind of like my experience. Like Tay Tay got to play, he's playing on the guys team, but I got like no playing time. So that really sucked.
I think it was unfortunate what happened to you in high school as far as basketball goes. I think you worked hard, and I think that was a big payoff. The fact that you worked hard, even though you didn't get what you want, but you had that one moment. And Lisa and Emily will still bring it up because they all remember how awesome that felt. So I think it's props to you.
Thank you. It's also how much we hated those girls. They're the worst.
Yeah, don't piss Annie off for real. She's from the hood. She's definitely from the hood.
See behind me?
Yeah, Echo Parque. That's where she's from.
Okay.
Hard work is not foreign to you. But tell us what it was like to during those college years when you were going back and forth and you were working so much, and how did that help shape who you are today?
I don't, you know what? I think it's just as soon as I got there, I just realized like, I wanted a better life for my family. And the only way to do that was just to keep busting my ass. And I remember because I needed to, pay, I had to buy lunch for myself. I had to pay for gas, my books, like stuff like that. And so I was working part-time in retail. I think at one point I had 3 jobs while going to school full time. So 3 part-time jobs and going to college full time. Yeah, and I was usually between 1 to 3 jobs, but I worked throughout college, just so that I could just, pay for my own bills and not have to depend on my mom. I just wanted to take that burden away from her. And yeah, I feel like I don't know. It's just and I think honestly, I credit a lot of the work ethic to my mom and dad. They really instilled all of that in me, and just to like always work hard and for what you want. And so they're immigrants and they came to this country hoping for a better future. So have to pay them back at some point. They've had it so much worse than us, and so I'm grateful for that. And yeah, I just had to do it. It's weird. It's just like this like autopilot for me, and it still is. It's just like work, 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 work. Okay, you got to keep doing this, and I like to carry the burden of everything all the time. And I think it's
That's true.
Very innate in me, I guess.
Yeah. Are you the oldest of your siblings?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Ray's an oldest child too, and so am I. And we have, it's just weird. It's just like it's kind of just an automatic thing because we're more wise than our younger siblings. We know better. I feel like the oldest is usually the more rational sibling. The one that's more logical. So it's funny though, because like Ray, I feel like our siblings dynamic is kind of similar as far as the middle child and the youngest kid and stuff like that. But it's in a lot of ways. But yeah, definitely, I think being the oldest, it just kind of falls on you because you're closest to your parent, and your parent like relies on you, and you're the dependable one. So yeah, it's kind of like a natural thing, I guess.
And Ray, you being the oldest child in your family as well, I mean, do you feel the same way?
Yeah. I mean, for me, we didn't really have a lot of parental guidance, and I end up becoming the father figure, and in some ways it pushed my sisters away because it's hard for them to listen to me sometimes, but in the end, I think it was good for us. I think my sisters definitely benefited from a lot of mistakes. The mistakes that I made, they learned from that, and I think I think we're all good for it.
Did you guys ever at one point feel like it was a bit much, but you guys, or Annie, did you ever feel like it was a bit much and you just kind of pushed through and just kind of truck through?
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's weird. Like, I don't think I ever really thought about it, to be honest with you. And I think only like in recent years have I really thought about it. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you're taking on too much. Maybe you got to put yourself first. But it's just hard. Like, I'm literally at the bottom of my list. Like, I really am. It's
Yeah.
just, it does it. I could never be happy if I was at the top, I guess. I don't know. It's such a weird thing, like for me, for sure.
No, I think you know what helped me and with my sisters. The fact that like after a while, I just kind of let go. What I mean by that is I kind of step back and let them kind of figure it out, let them make their own mistakes, and it. And oftentimes I'll tell them, "Hey, if you're going to do this, this is exactly what's going to happen." Obviously, they didn't, believe me, and true enough, it actually happened. But they needed, they needed all those bruises, to learn from their mistakes. Oh,
for sure. Just the only difference is I have brothers. That's a different story.
Well, I mean, I have sisters, so I mean,
yeah, I don't know
with that too.
Brothers are harder.
That's debatable.
We'll never know. We'll never know.
Debate.
How close are you guys to your siblings now as adults?
I think I'm a lot closer to them than I ever was. Growing up, like we were pitted against each other for some odd reason. But I'm a lot closer to them now. We talk about our past and how our past shaped us. And my sisters and I, we don't really communicate as much as I would like, but we're definitely, that love is there more than ever.
What about you, Annie?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, with my brothers and I, like we have 3 very different personalities, like literally 3. But at the end of the day, it's like we have each other's backs. We do talk a little more now that we're adults. I think as kids, naturally we fought all the time as teenagers, and stuff because we have such different personalities. But yeah, it's just, I feel like it's just that family bond. Like you can't break that shit, like we'll always like have each other's backs and stuff like that. And our common goal is taking care of our mom,
Oh.
Speaking of your mom, I do really miss going over to your house and just eating all her food because I know she's got this like special ginormous bowl every time I go over there that I don't even know if anybody else uses, but I know that she gives it to me. So, I mean, definitely tell her to hang tight. I'll be there soon.
Dude, she thought about making pho the other day, but it was too hot. So I'll let you know. Actually, I'll tell you guys can come by and pick some up. But yeah, Peter she actually does only give that huge bowl probably to you and JB. Yeah.
Me and my boy over there. That's right. You better not.
Good cooking.
Going back to what we were talking about earlier too, you having 3 jobs, going to college, and taking care of your family because you were the one that was old enough to even work at the time. Probably Brian and Alan were probably a little younger and still just kind of. Yeah. And honestly, Ray, boys will be boys. Don't lie about it. We are not very easy beings to get along with, but thank you, Annie. So, wow. But during that time when you were, doing all that stuff, what was the one thing that you remembered, doing that was fun, or was it just like trucking along? Like, what about that time in your life? Do you remember?
You're talking about college?
Yeah, just the college days.
What was fun was going to downtown Fullerton and going to the bars in my Cal State Fullerton hoodie.
Oh yeah.
That was fun. Well, it was only fun because it's like I was taking like an evening class, so it was like 4 to 7 or something. And my girlfriends and I, my college girlfriends who I'm still friends with to this day, we used to just be like, oh, let's go like get a drink, and we literally would just look like we wouldn't dress up or anything. Like we would be in our hoodies and we'd go and we'd like hang out and just like have a good time. We'd sing karaoke. But that was like probably one of the highlights. That was like always fun, because, we went to commuter schools, Cal States, and, you don't get that full college experience. Like you drive there, you take your classes and then you go back home, you're not like living on campus. You don't have as much time to join any like organizations because some of us, like for me, like I had to go to work, so the friends that I made were the friends that were in like much of my classes and were majoring in the same thing as me.
I think it's crazy the fact that we would drive all the way to Fullerton just to party with you and then drive back home. It's like that was wild, from LA to Orange County. Yeah. We did that a couple of times, and it's not something I would ever do now, but it's wild that was even a possibility and something that we actually did.
We drove to Newport Beach, Huntington Beach. Like we went to all those like really far places. Why?
I didn't go to any of those places if none of you guys wanted to go. You ended up in TV production after college. And then you spent a good amount of time in Idaho shaping or building the foundation for your career. What made you want to go into TV production? Because it seems crazy to me.
Well, so I went to college with the goal to work in TV news. I grew up watching a lot of news, like local LA news, with my dad. Like my dad watched a ton of news, and I remember always watching. I was like, I really want to do that. And at first, I thought I wanted to be on camera. When I started college, and then about a couple months in, I was like, I hate being in front of the camera. I hate talking. I hate attention. I need to do something else. So by the time I graduated and I got my degree in journalism, I took a job. And when you want to work in TV news, you have to take a job at a small market. So that means a small town. And growing up in the second largest city in the United States, it's a culture shock, I guess. But I was interning at Channel 7 here in LA, and I had an amazing supervisor who got me a job in Idaho. And I remember interviewing. I interviewed first with the person I was going to replace. And then she's like, okay, great. You're going to interview with the news director the next day. And this is when I was still in college. I was like going to graduate within like 3 weeks. And so then I spoke to the news director, and he loved me. And I think he had offered me the job basically after the interview. And he's like, hey, so, do you want to take the job? Like, we want to hire you. And I don't know what was wrong with me. And I think a lot of it is being 22 and an idiot. I said yes immediately. I didn't even think about it. Like looking back, I was like, wow, that was really stupid, but also it was the best decision I've made in my life. Because it was like most people think about things before they make decisions. And I just said yes. I was like, yes, I'll take it. Because it's hard to get a job out of college, and so I took the job, and he's like, "Okay, great. Well, we need you here in 2 weeks." So I graduated college, got my degree.
Time.
Told all you guys, told my mom. My mom's amazing, and she's supportive, and she's like, "Hey, you got to do what you got to do. Go pursue your career." And I remember packing up my car and driving to Idaho Falls.
How long is that drive?
About 15 hours, I want to say.
You're crazy. Okay.
Yeah. Have you been back?
No, I haven't been back since. We really want to go because I want to go to Yellowstone really badly again. I've been to Yellowstone once, and it's like the most amazing, magical place. So I really want to go back and stop in Idaho Falls on the way. So one of these days.
Let me know when you go, because Chelsea's mom lives up there, so I need to get.
Does she?
Yeah, she lives in Idaho. I don't know where in Idaho, but it's somewhere up there. I don't know where.
Well, Idaho is a very long state. So
I know. I want to say Idaho Falls.
Okay. Yeah.
Definitely not Boise. Definitely not Boise. I know that. So,
what do you stop in between that and your destination?
Man, I don't even remember, to be honest. I mean, Salt Lake City is a stop. There's a couple like small towns in Utah before then. But yeah, it's not, I mean, just like, driving to, like, if you've done the drive to San Francisco, it's essentially kind of the same thing with a couple, gas station stops and stuff like that. But it's really pretty, driving through like parts of Utah, it's like the cool rock formations and stuff. Yeah.
Did you ever stop by Zion?
No, we haven't. I want to go so bad. Like I saw, two of my friends, they just went recently. It's like stunning. Yeah. I want to go.
You guys are saying all the magic words. I hope Christina doesn't hear about this. And then
Christina,
she's been pretty adamant about, us isolating and quarantining. But if she heard you guys talking about this, she might just break the rules.
Well, I mean, it's just like avoiding like people. You're really just in your car. And when you get to a national park, it's like huge.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna ask Christina. We'll see what she says. But I did have another. I did want to find out something else too. So while you were there doing I mean, so what exactly was it that you were doing in TV production for that company, and how long were you there for?
So I signed a 2-year contract because that's just what you do in news, and I did not want to be on camera. So the job I took was actually a producing job, and I was the morning news producer. And not a lot happens in Idaho overnight, so a lot of my news is like it was just like recycled stuff from the day before. But basically, I'm trying to think of what my schedule was before it changed, because like my newscasts had changed from like a certain time in the morning to like a 2 hour. But the probably year and a half of it, I was starting work at like 3:30 in the morning. So I would get up, yeah, I would get up at 3 a.m., literally roll out of bed and go to work. And me, along with my two anchors, like they would get there probably like an hour after me. And we would just write a lot of the stories that they're reading. So, you watch the local news here, and the anchors, the script that they're reading, the producer writes that. Although, like for me, like my anchors helped me too, because it was a lot for one person to do. So, I'd write the script and I'd stack the show. So basically, like I would decide the order of importance, of what's the top story, what's the second story, all that. And then once we go live, like I'm in the control room and I have like a whole team, and I had the most amazing team. Like they're all like Idaho, they were all locals, and they're just like they're always so fun. And I had a great like director, who she would know which cameras to go to, and if anything happens, I would talk into the anchor's ears, which is a pretty chill morning show. We'd have like guests all the time. It was not that exciting, but it was enjoyable because I had such a great team, and it was a great learning experience. So that's pretty much kind of what I did. And then I'd be done with work at like 12:30 and then go home
Jeez.
and yeah, and just like run errands, whatever. And then I would try to go to sleep at like 4 or 5 p.m. That was usually really hard to do because it was really bright out. But yeah, that was kind of my schedule. Is like awful.
What were your living conditions like? Now, I mean, I've heard stories, but you might want to corroborate some of those stories.
Yeah.
I had an amazing apartment. Like, luckily, again, like my supervisor here in LA, like she knew of a great apartment complex that was like literally half a mile from my
Hmm.
station, and so she got me set up there. And luckily, I was on the third floor. But I had like a 1-bedroom apartment, carport parking. They had like a laundry, everything. But I had a great apartment. Yeah, it was a 1-bedroom, really close to work. A friend of mine actually lived one building over who worked at the station. And then eventually another friend of mine lived in like the apartment complex, like just literally just next door, next to us. So it was like, it's nice because I made a lot of friends at the station and people I'm still friends with to this day. But it was, yeah, it was like my apartment was great. I was really poor and couldn't really afford much.
Yeah.
So it was not furnished to what I had hoped. But that's part of the struggle. And so because of that, like, it was definitely, it was a very low salary. And I couldn't survive on that. So I had to pick up a second job. And because of my schedule, it allowed me that flexibility. And, I had a lot of experience in retail. So I went to the mall. The mall was like maybe a mile away from my apartment. So I drove to the mall. I walked around the mall and I asked for applications at a few of the stores that I was interested in working
Wow.
in. And yeah, they were hiring at Hollister. So the Hollister was supposed to open that winter. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna apply here. It's a new store. It's like reminds me of California. And I'll just take a part-time job. I was like, I could work 5 hours, make a little extra money. So I applied and they hired me. Although they wanted me to be an assistant manager because there you have to have a degree to be a manager. And
Really?
I was one of the very few people applying who had a degree because they had a lot of teenagers applying.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, so I was like, no, I have a full time job. I can't do two jobs, two
Yeah.
full time jobs. Like that's crazy. I'm not doing that. So yeah, I just worked there part time just to try to make ends meet. And then the store was crazy popular. You guys, it was so busy all the time. insane. And eventually my manager convinced me to be an assistant manager. She's like, please, I'm begging you, will you just try it for a little bit? And then if you don't like it, you can go back to part-time. And I was like, okay. So with my schedule though, you have to work with me on my schedule. And she was willing to do that. And I was like, okay. So I worked 2 full-time jobs for an entire year.
Wow. You're a trooper.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I was able to pay all my bills. But the thing that sucked too, and I still feel bad to this day, is like I feel like my job at the station suffered a little bit, because of it. And I feel like really bad about that. But, it's hard because, you're trying to survive. I didn't want to depend on my mom. So I had to do it myself. And I worked 7 days a week. And 2 days a week, it was double time. So Tuesdays, Thursdays, I did both jobs. And because it was the winter and Hollister was a new store, we had like holiday hours. So I was working I would say probably between 90 to 100 hours a week at times during the peak time.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I guess there would be nobody else that would be able to do that.
I barely did it.
Let me ask you this. What was it like being away from, all your family, all your friends, and, starting off in a new city like that?
It was really hard. I don't think I realized how hard it was, but I remember moving out there and I was in this apartment with not a lot of furniture because I was too poor to buy it all. And I remember missing, I missed everybody. I missed LA. I missed my family. I missed my friends. I missed you guys. And I didn't realize it until probably when I finally moved back to LA, but I was depressed for the first 5 months, I think, of living, 4 to 5 months. I didn't realize that's what it was, but I really think that's what I was feeling because, I didn't really have any friends. My schedule didn't allow me to hang out with my friends at the station. Because I was on opposite schedule from them.
Yeah.
I was going to bed when they were going to go to dinner. So it was, I had a hard time, but by the time I got my second full-time job, I was so busy. I didn't think about it, because I was working constantly. I made new friends over at the retail store. And before I knew it, it was like, all right, I'm leaving and I'm going back to LA. And I moved back home and I'm never, ever leaving again.
What was one of your favorite things you remembered about working at the new station?
Honestly, I would say, really the people. I worked with some really great people there, and I think about them sometimes. I don't talk to some. I talk to some still, and some I don't talk. Particularly my morning team. I don't talk to anymore, sadly. But I remember one of the guys. He was like my CG op, and I had my wisdom teeth were growing in, and it was really bad, and I had to get them removed, and I had no one to drive me because I had to go under. And I remember he drove me to my appointment, picked me up, took me to pick up my prescription, made me soup, and then left. And it was just really sweet because I had no one else was able to do it, and he was very sweet. So definitely the people, and it was I feel like it was just, I don't know, it's just such a cool experience. I think just to grow up and learn how to take care of myself and be dependent on myself and live in a new place. I feel like when you're in LA, why would you ever want to leave? And so it's the fact that I even got to experience something outside of LA was pretty cool.
And then when you came back to LA, what was waiting for you here?
Well, when I was still in Idaho and I had decided, I think I decided within the last 6 months I was there, I was like, you know what, once my contract's up, I'm moving back to LA, I need to be home. And I remember brainstorming and thinking oh God, when I move back to LA, what am I going to do? I actually didn't want to do news anymore. And some of it was my experience at the station. There's just some changes that happened. And so my last, I would say year, 6 months to a year, just wasn't enjoyable. And I didn't feel passionate about it anymore. So I was like, well, how can I utilize my skills and my degree? And I was like, well, LA, it's production, it's like the Hollywood. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll just get into TV production in some way, shape, or form. And luckily, one of my friends who worked at the station was like, oh, well, I have a friend who's like, a post supervisor. Like, why don't you send me your resume and I'll pass it along to her? So he did, and and actually, when I got back to LA, I got called for an interview to be a production assistant and a post production assistant. And I remember going in. So that was pretty much what was waiting for me here, I guess. It was like, okay, I knew I was going to go to TV production, but that was literally like my only network was that. I didn't have any other opportunities or anything. And I wasn't even really banking on it. I guess it was just more like, I just need to get back to LA and we'll see what happens. But yeah, so it was just like, my thought was like, okay, I'll do TV production.
What was your first show here?
I was a post-production assistant at a smaller kind of production company. In LA. So they actually started Jersey Shore. So.
So I thought you came back to LA because you had a job. So you just left Idaho because your contract was up, and you're like, "Fuck this shit, I'm going back home."
Yep, pretty much. I did not have a job. I did not. I was like, I literally was counting down the days to move back home. Like, I was so over it already. Yeah. And, it was just, it wasn't for me. And I miss, family and friends is everything. So definitely been happier moving back. That's a good decision.
That was you stuck with TV production. So so I'm assuming you love it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely fun. I'm in unscripted, which is kind of like reality type stuff. And, it's fun. I do enjoy, like, with each job, it's like, it's different. It's just challenging, but freelance life is very hard.
So you've worked on some pretty big shows. Can you name some of the shows that you've worked on?
Yeah, I did. I did America's Got Talent for a couple of years. I did World of Dance. I did The Taste. It's not as huge, but Anthony Bourdain was on it, and he's incredible. It's one of my favorite shows to work on. The Masked Singer on Fox. I did the first season of that. Yeah.
Did you ever get to interact with Anthony Bourdain?
The rap party, I was really drunk, and I said something to him.
What did you say?
He was really drunk too. I don't even remember. I was probably like, "Hey man, I'm Laotian. My mom's from Laos," or something. Just because he loves Southeast Asia, so I thought that was like the best thing to say to Anthony Bourdain, like a loser.
Which one was your favorite show, and what were some of your favorite moments?
Man, that's hard. I mean, I know. You know what? Like, every show is different, and again, like, it's weird. A lot of it's like I meet really great people that I'm still friends with, like, to this day, and have been invited to their weddings and stuff like that, which, I feel really lucky. But I don't know. I love all of them. Like, AGT was so fun because you met so many different people, and I got to travel all around the US. You guys remember when I would always be gone?
Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, for a couple of years, it's like, oh, I'm going to, Austin. I'm going to New York. And it was really fun because I think I was like in my mid-20s at the time. So it was like, it was so cool to like fly and like hang out in New York and also what was really great was the whole crew. Everyone loved to drink and party. So like when we would be done with like work, and we would all like go and just have fun that last night. And a lot of us were like close in age. So that was a lot of fun. So I really loved like my experience on AGT in that sense. I don't know. It's hard. I mean, I love all of them.
So the rumor is that there was some guy who had a huge crush on you while you were working there.
Me and my sweetheart, aka my lady, we met working on The Taste. But I wasn't even interested in him at the time because he smoked, which I don't like, and he wore stupid boots, and he also would annoy me. So I wasn't even interested in him until a year and a half later after we met.
Persistence is key.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because we ended up working on another show together a year and a half later. And he was still annoying. I still wasn't interested. But he didn't ask me out the first time that we worked together. He was just annoying. And then the second show we worked on together, like, we had to kind of like work on some things together. We were on two different teams, or departments basically. And then soon after that, he asked me out after the show wrapped, and
Mm.
I was like, okay, it's a cool party. Like, why would I not go? Because he invited me to like a birthday party that was like like it was a total Hollywood
Yeah.
birthday party,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, yeah, of course I'm gonna go. So I went with him, and the rest is history.
Who was your favorite celebrity that you met?
Man, that's hard. I mean, definitely Anthony Bourdain's one of them.
All right, give me top
I
three. Give me
mean,
top three.
okay, Anthony Bourdain, um, Gladys Knight.
Mm.
She's so sweet. She was on The Masked Singer. Um, she's freaking legendary. Like freaking motherfucking Gladys Knight, and she's so down to earth and like so amazing. And I'm trying to
Antonio
think
Brown?
of
I'm kidding.
I never met him.
I'm kidding.
Dude,
He's an asshole.
he's good looking though. He's a good looking dude. Very good looking dude. I'm trying to think of like all the shows that I've worked on and like who I've like met. This is like totally random and it's not like really a show I worked on, but I actually got to meet Daniel Kaluuya once.
That's cool. Oh,
Yeah, he's very
Wow.
cool. But that was still like just really cool because I was like, oh, I just got to meet him. I'm just trying to like run through all the shows in my head, and I could only think of Anthony Bourdain. Gladys Knight was really amazing. Howie Mandel's really nice, dude. I really like him too.
I
Yeah,
heard he's a germaphobe.
yes, he is. It was a fist bump kind of situation
It's not.
for sure. Yeah, but like JB's met way cooler people than me though. But I would say like Anthony Bourdain's like a top because I was just a huge fan of his.
When you were working there, were you one of the few minorities that worked there?
On the taste.
On, I guess, just in general, I guess.
Yeah, usually I am, but I usually was. As far as like the producing team, I usually tick the box for the Asian Americans. I'm like fortunate, like I've actually have worked with a lot of really great people. So I never felt different.
Yeah, and I got a chance to actually meet, I mean, especially your AGT family, right? And
Yeah.
I definitely can attest to what wonderful people that they are, and to this day, I will always remember hanging out with them and how
Peter
amazing
Fang,
people they are.
Peter Fang.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't imagine being surrounded by such wonderful people for years and years, and traveling with them. You probably did have a blast. And you know what? I do miss them, so I can't imagine you not missing them. But all that to say that, that support system that you had, I'm sure it definitely made it worthwhile staying, even in light of all that, I'm assuming.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, with the job right before the lockdown and all this COVID stuff, like the friend of mine that I have who is my boss, like she like picks on me all the time and makes fun of me, and it's great. I love it. Like we're always like laughing. You guys know how it is. We joke. It's like I am very goofy and I love to laugh, and so yeah, she's great. She understands my sense of humor, so she's really mean and insults me all the time, and it's fun.
Person of color, or even specifically, I guess, like any person of color, if they wanted to do what you do, what would you tell them that you think would have helped you a long way back then?
I would say, and when I run into PAs, like, production assistants, like on shows and stuff like that, oftentimes, like, the best job to try to aim for is being an assistant to someone at a high level. So, becoming an executive assistant to the executive producer or, the co-executive producer or whatever, because then, like, you actually get to see what it's like to run a show and work closely with someone in a position of power who can be your mentor and give you advice, you know. So it's harder when you're on the grind of being a production assistant here, and then you're one here and you're one there. So I mean, I think a lot of that too is because I took an assistant job, I was able to move up a lot faster than some people who have been in the business for a long time. Like I've met people who have been production assistants for like 6 years, 7 years, without ever really moving up because they're just going from gig to gig. And I mean, the PAing part was good because you know, you're starting from the bottom, so you know how hard it was. Like I was grabbing coffee and lunches for people and picking up people's time cards and dropping off people's paychecks. Dude, I drove to Santa Monica once because my supervisor was like, hey, we want to eat tacos from this taco truck. So can you, and I worked in Burbank, and he was like, can you drive to Santa Monica? Here's $100. Just buy whatever. And I was like, shit, like, I don't know what people want to eat. That was a lot of pressure on me. And I just remember walking, I was like, 10 carne asada tacos and this and that. And then I drove it back to Burbank. Like, man.
Was it a hit?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I got to enjoy some of it too. So that was cool. Dude, man, I think about that. And like, I remember I'd go to Costco and take 2 trips into Costco because I had to go buy all the crafty for our office. So like I'd go in the first time and I'd do all the drinks. So I would take in a cart and I'd like get a 40 pack of Coca-Cola, 2 packs of 40, you know, cans of Diet Coke and Sprite and everything. And then I would push it out to my car and load it in. And I'd go back in and then I'd get bagels and bananas and all this stuff. But I remember and this is like in Burbank, and think about this in the summertime. And back then I didn't know that you can talk to Costco and they would have someone assist you to your car. So I was doing all this shit myself. Like loaded. So then you look at my car and you look at the back seat and it's just stuffed with food and like stuff from Costco. It was, yeah, that was like my life, man. But it was cool because I learned how hard it is to be a PA and understand their job. So I'm never an ass, never mean to PAs because I know what it's like to be one, you know?
I did PA work twice, and I was like, fuck this, I'm not doing this ever again.
Ooh, what was the stuff that they made you do?
I can't. It was nothing. It was crazy thing it was nowhere near with what you went through, but I just didn't like holding cables or cleaning up. It was like, this ain't me. Like, I was more of a white collar guy. Like I didn't like the grunt work, and I wanted to be more behind the scenes, sitting in front of a computer, you know, making moves, but not like grabbing someone's coffee. Like, I commend people who do it, but it just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make Ray sweat during work. No way.
Yeah.
Dude, if Ray was doing what I was doing, he would be drenched like every day.
Yeah. Not cut out for that, Ray.
I wasn't cut out for it at all.
You're going through t-shirts on the daily.
I know Ray just needs to be in an office where it's like super freezing cold, and then he's set.
What's the outlook like, and what's the industry been like in this atmosphere with like COVID and all this, you know, all this other movements coming to light?
You know, I mean, just recently with reopening, like I've heard like chatter about like shows starting up. Like I know my friends who still work on AGT, like they were able to go back to production and do their show. So I feel like I'm sure slowly the industry is going to figure out how to do this safely.
I was thinking about it. Like it would be interesting if Hollywood decided to do like the NBA model, create a bubble system. But again, there's way more people. You just talk about extras. There's way more. I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't know the amount of people that goes in putting together an NBA production versus the amount of people that goes into producing AGT. So it'd be interesting. Yeah. Because I think after the longer and longer we stay quarantined, and people got to work, people got to eat, so they'll have to figure something out.
Yeah, what's interesting is I haven't read a whole lot about it yet, but Zendaya just shot a movie.
Yeah.
Recently, which I haven't read much about yet, but they managed to film a whole movie.
Wow.
Like recently, so yeah. But again, like I think it's probably a case by case basis.
Yeah.
Is this something that you want to go back to? I mean, I know you put in a lot of time, right? Like when it resumes, like, is this something you want to go back to?
Yeah, I mean, like the show I was working on before COVID, like I definitely want to work on it still. Um, Maybe after that I'll see how I feel, but I
Yeah.
do want to go back. It's just, hopefully safely somehow, or hopefully things change by the time that can happen. So right now I'm just like, I'm cool with, staying home.
But one of the things that I think was really difficult uh, for us to see, and I think we talked about this, was seeing some of our friends coming out, right, and talking about certain things that kind of highlighted. Well, I didn't even actually know this about this person. Um, but I guess my question to you is, what is one of the things that drives you to be so vocal?
Being a decent human being. Really, like anybody who has a heart and is a good person and cares about humanity should be pissed. And then of course the second layer to that is like, because Tay Tay is my best friend, like he is so important to me and his life matters, and I think for anybody who doesn't even have like black friends or whatever, they should still care though, because it's humanity. Like you should care about humanity. Like all humans deserve equal human rights, you know? So yeah, I feel very strongly about that because I feel it's lasted way too long, and like I'm definitely not perfect. I'm sure I had my um, you know, jerk moments where I you know I regret, I guess. And then, it's like, but if you can learn and you can learn to be a better person moving forward and be an ally, especially to like our black like friends and neighbors, like you should like speak up, and I'm definitely like not one of those again. Like I'm super passive oftentimes. And so it's important, I think it's just important to say something, to speak up, and not only like towards like, black Americans, but like Asian Americans, like our AAPI community, like we're getting a lot of we're dealing with a lot of racism too because of COVID-19. Like if we all like step up and look out for each other, hopefully it can be better. But obviously it's not going to happen quickly. But I definitely think it's important to, like stand up for what's right. I think that there's right and wrong. And in this case, there's right and wrong. And people need to be on the right side of history and things.
If you see someone getting knocked down and there's some injustice happening, you got to speak up. And when you don't speak up, that wrong will perpetuate. It'll get bigger and bigger, and more and more people need to speak up. And it feels nice that a lot more people are speaking up, but we still have a long way to go. Long way to go.
I mean, Annie, have you noticed anything now that everything's kind of come to light, especially in your industry? Are things a little different? Are there different voices being heard now? I know you guys have been on a hiatus since this COVID thing has started, but have you felt like people started treating people better, worse, or have there been more things happening?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, just because I haven't been back to work. But as far as like
Hmm.
what I'm seeing, just on social media, it is nice to see that there are a lot of people, in the biz who, like stand for justice and what's right and stuff like that. So, I feel like it's definitely, people are definitely more vocal about it. I see like a lot of like my white friends posting stuff like constantly. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, the crazy shit right now to me, I think a lot of it is just there's a lot of just stupid shit going on out there. Like I think I read somewhere realtors are going to stop using the phrase master bedroom and change something else. And
yeah.
to me, it's like, okay, I get what you're trying to do, but that's not going to change anything. Like, what you know what's going to change something? Make it so that I, as a black person, if I go in with a 800 credit score, I get the same fucking rate as a white person who goes in with an 800 credit score. That's what's going to change something. But it's just right now. It's all talk. There isn't really much action, and um, that shit needs to change.
Mhm.
Remember when you were giving me that example a while ago? You said one of the biggest differences is that if, say, Chelsea decided to say, "Hey, that house is really beautiful," and she stood in front of the house and started looking at it, nobody thinks anything about it.
Yeah.
But then if Ray is standing there looking at it, people are like, oh shit, let me get,
Yeah, Annie probably doesn't know the context of it, but Chelsea and I will go on walks in our neighborhood, um, and we just like looking at all the nice homes around, and
Mhm.
it's just weird. I just growing up, just from my experience, I just never like standing in front of somebody's house, even if I'm just walking by and looking at somebody's house. Immediately, I feel like that person is going to call the cops on me because I look suspicious, and it's bullshit. And so sometimes we'll walk in the neighborhood and Chelsea will point at something. I'm like, hey, stop pointing. It's just she'll not understand why I'm being that way, but she gets it. And even though I'm with my white girlfriend, it's still uncomfortable for me. Like I just kind of keep my head down, mind my own business, but it's stupid.
Yeah, it's stupid that you even have to feel that way, and that's so valid because I saw something on social media, I think today, where there was this black man who was sitting, I think, in his car in front of his own home, waiting for his son to come out to the car. And I think it was a white woman or someone like called the cops on him because she he looked suspicious in the neighborhood, only to realize like that was his house and he was parked in front of his own home waiting for his son to come out to the car. Like,
wow.
I get it.
dude. So
I
like
had
what
that happen
you
to me.
yeah, like
No,
so
go
what
ahead. Sorry.
yeah, what you're feeling is like valid. I don't know. It's just it's stupid that you have to think about these things. I mean, it's also, in that way that it's not I'm not saying it's like the same, but it's in kind of the same ways that as a woman, like I have to be on high alert all the time, anytime I go anywhere, or like people hooting and hollering at me and stuff like that. Like JB goes like running in the neighborhood all the time, and we're in a nice like area and stuff, but like I don't feel comfortable jogging by myself
Yeah.
just because I'm fear for my safety.
Yeah.
So it's like just the fact that or like this is stupid. Even when I was in Idaho, which was like super safe, at least at the time, I was walking in my car at like 3 a.m. To go to work. It was like holding my keys like in between my fingers, like this, like just walking from my apartment to my carport, which wasn't even a long walk. It was just like down and then down the pathway. My car was there, but because it was like at 3 a.m. and I think that's the LA mindset, the Echo Park mindset and how we grew up. Like I'm always on like freaking high alert.
Plus, you also watch a lot of murder mysteries.
Yeah, goddamn stupid true crime. I love true crime.
Nah, going back to that walking around neighborhoods, I remember I had a friend who lived in Hancock Park, and for those of you who know, Hancock Park is a wealthy neighborhood, and I had gone to his house to visit him, and as I was leaving, I left, and then I hadn't left yet, but I was parked outside, and then some woman came out of her house, and she started jotting down my license plate. I'm like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "I don't know who you are. Like, there's been robberies in this neighborhood." I don't know. I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'm just sitting here. Okay, I'll leave." It was the weirdest shit to me.
Wow.
And, yeah, and ever since then, like I've always been like, because growing up, my whole thing is like I want to avoid the cops as much as possible. Even though I'm not doing anything wrong, I don't want to give them an excuse to put me in a position that would, jeopardize, my life.
Yeah, I mean, I think both of you guys brought us pretty good points. And Annie, especially the one about being a woman. I know that there's a movement right now, and it's obviously Black Lives Matter, but there's always been a movement in regards to women in this country and how they're treated and how some. Yeah, I think you mentioned earlier too, just like everything from personal to professional levels. I think there's kind of these obstacles, especially for women, and so it's different, but it's almost the same. It's very, very similar kind of objectification and kind of like a ceiling that's placed on you guys and a certain discrimination that's kind of just always kind of been there.
It's crazy, Pete. Me, Tommy, and Bez have this when the whole BLM thing started, and with George Floyd, the people who reached out to us were mostly women.
Yeah.
And we talked about this, and all of us were like, "Man, we're gonna do everything we can to support, anything that it's about empowering women." And one of the crazy things is that I think women subconsciously know exactly what we've been going through, because women, most of your life, you guys have been oppressed. It might be a different type of oppression, but you can understand, having that fear for your life, or feeling that, no matter how hard you work, that, somebody's not giving you a chance. And I think women identify a lot with the Black experience more than they realize.
I just want to thank you again, Annie, for coming on to our little rush hour talk and sharing all your experiences and stuff like that. We love you. We miss you and JB and your family, of course. But I hope you will come back on again.
Yes, please come back on.
And I hate being on camera, but for this, it's fun. At least it's with my family.
Well, thank you again for coming on and sharing. And I hope you, again, like I said, I hope you come back, and then we can have another one.
Anyway, well, thanks for having me. It's a lot of fun.